Let's go ahead and start. Hey guys, this week on Run, Jump, Stomp, a podcast about games, because we needed another, we're going to be talking about how Facebook wants to make a Steam competitor.
Anyone still playing No Man's Sky?
Going back to the ocean,
Deus Ex launches with bugs.
there's a PS4 Slim leaking online. Ew.
And finally, two-step verification for PSN accounts.
Those stories plus more on this week's episode of Run, Jump, Stomp. Stick around. All right, everybody. So this week we are talking about a whole bunch of stuff, but we're going to start with our very first story. But before we do, I got to introduce my co-host. I am Bill, and this is Run, Jump, Stomp, a podcast about games. And my co-host is Zap. Hey, Zap.
How you doing, buddy? How you getting on?
I'm doing great. He just got back from a vacation in the woods, and every picture that I saw, you looked quite unhappy. Was that just because you were tired, or because you don't like camping?
No, I love camping. It was a few sleepless, not really sleepless nights, but you know how it is. You never sleep quite as well as you do in your own bed.
Yeah, and then
So
I always, anytime I go camping, I always wake up at like 5 in the morning or something like that, and I'm like, seriously, why am I awake already?
you wake up to someone else shaking their tent from the rain off it or something.
Yeah,
Oh, let me sleep, please. Come on.
no kidding. All right, so this week let's start with talking about how Facebook is trying to make a Steam competitor, which I find this to be really interesting. Not in a way that I'm happy about, or I'm not interested in it, but it seems like Facebook is looking to make a Steam competitor in the way that they want to make what would ostensibly be Steam for casual gaming. So it's supposed to be focused mostly on browser games, and they did say that it's not going to have your news feed and that stuff in there. It's just a place to see what your friends are playing. This doesn't really come as a huge surprise, since Facebook really recently got into the gaming market by buying Oculus, and they've got big hitters like John Carmack working over at Facebook. For myself, I'm not going to use it because I don't use Facebook, but at the same time, I like the idea that there's competition with Steam to make Steam innovate. Whether or not this is real competition with Steam remains to be seen. What do you think about this story?
Um, I can't even see the point to it. It really doesn't make any sense at all. Except from Facebook trying to plug themselves into another part of the market. Like you, I mean, I have Facebook, but mine's mainly for keeping in contact with like family and friends, and I don't use Facebook to go about my gaming business. My gaming business is portrayed through Twitter or Steam. Steam is the biggest platform, but I don't see how this is going to be any competition for Steam. As soon as I read it, I could hear the dollar signs ringing from in-app purchases from casual games, because mostly that's what casual games have, in-app purchases. So whether it's going to be a bunch of games on there that all these freemium type of games, and I don't know, I see it as a pointless exercise by Facebook.
You know what? You brought up a point that I hadn't thought of, and that's a really good point. I totally understand why Facebook is doing this now. Facebook is doing this so that they can take a cut of the in-app purchases that happen. So let's say I make a browser-based game, Candy Crush Luigi Edition or whatever. I don't know. So let's say that I make that game. The thing that's going to happen is maybe I want to make a purchase in that game. Is Facebook now going to be able to get a cut because it's on their platform? If that's the case, that's really, really interesting. And that's a revenue stream that I hadn't thought of. So it's good that you thought of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like any kind of freemium based gaming that are developed, or games that are developed these days. And I think what Facebook see is this growing, the casual gaming boom on mobile from, like I say, Candy Crush, and your most popular is probably Clash Royale, Clash of Clans, and all these ones that where Facebook can see what's happening, and you can link your Facebook accounts to these games, and you can tell your friends what you're getting up to on these games. But I think at this point in time, on the iOS App Store and Google Play, the biggest grossing game through in-app purchases is Clash of Clans. So I think this is what this is. Facebook see this. Unity is a very powerful gaming engine anyway. It can make some really solid casual games if that's kind of your boat. I think it also has a lot to do with some hardcore games out there. But this is basically Facebook going, right, in-app purchases. We're going to take this. This is where we're going to go. And people who sit at their browser on Facebook every day, because I dread to think how many people there are in the world that are using Facebook. I dread to think it, and playing games on Facebook. I get these game invites all the time, and that's what Facebook, I think, will want. That's where they're going to go with this.
Yeah, that was one of the things that actually drove me away from Facebook. There's a couple of reasons that I stopped using Facebook, but one of the things was constantly getting requests from people who I don't actually hang out with, I can't remember, but for lack of a better example, tend to their farm, or nonsense like that I wasn't interested in. But yeah, the third party thing, really, that is a really good point. But also the fact that Facebook has Oculus, what if whatever this combination of Unity and Facebook is the default way to get games for the Oculus Rift, because Facebook doesn't want to lose that money to Steam. So while they may start out with browser-based games, it may also be a way for them to more closely or tightly control the market that they are helping create with virtual reality, which I don't have access to, and I won't buy until it's very cheap. But it's definitely going to be a place where money's going to be changing hands, and Facebook is smart by trying to get in there. All right, let's take a look at your first story. Why don't you tell us about it?
Well, we can't have a gaming show when we're not talking about No Man's Sky. And No Man's Sky has been in some serious hot water since it was released. Now, we're not going to get into too much of the ins and outs, but this one really caught my attention, which was the player count has dropped by 88%, but that's not unusual. So, as we all know, when No Man's Sky launched, I think it was like 2 weeks ago now, it was huge. It was apparently, according to PC Gamer, 200 and I can't even pronounce it. There's a lot. There's, nearly 250,000 people playing it simultaneously on launch day on Steam.
Wow.
So that's the biggest title. I think it now holds the title for the biggest launch on Steam of 2016, which is huge. So nearly 250,000 people, and then 88% of it concurrent users now don't play it.
Well, how long has it been out, though?
About 2 weeks. Which for me, for a game that's supposed to have a lot of longevity and a lot of a lot to do, and the whole survival thing where they portrayed all of these things, it's that, to me, that's 88% is kind of a big amount. I may be going, well, maybe I'm looking at it wrong. Maybe 88% is normal for the gaming industry. I'm not sure. 88% to me sounds very high for a game that was the most high title since 2013.
Well,
I don't know about your thoughts.
Yeah, my thoughts, I kind of agree with you. Like, when I looked at the title of the article, I was like, that's not unusual. I disagree. 88% in 2 weeks. That is a huge drop-off. So they started with 212,000 people. That means that they're down to 10% of that are still playing. So that means 20,000 people are still playing. Am I doing the math right? I
think you're about right.
Math on stream is happening right now, and it's bad. But that's a precipitous drop off. And I think the reason is because a lot of people bought it thinking that it was an MMO style game where you could interact with other people, and then you can't, even though they were wrong. Those people who thought that this is an MMO, those people were wrong, because it clearly says on the package, and it says when you go to the website, this is not an MMO. This is a single player game. A lot of people looked at how they described the game and they said, well, it's clearly an online game. I want to hang out with other people. I'm going to play this game, hang out with my buddies. We're going to have a blast. They buy the game. They log in. We talked about this last week or the week before. I can't remember. These two guys, they found the same planet. They landed. They were like, hey, I'm here. Well, no, you're not. I'm here. And then they found out that they're both on the same planet, but they can't actually see each other. And if you buy a game to expecting a multiplayer experience, and there is no multiplayer experience, a lot of people are going to abandon ship pretty quickly. And 88% is a really, really big number, I think, in the industry, no matter what PC Gamer says. Just anecdotally, I've spoken to some people on Twitter, like Kang Gaming. He streams on YouTube Gaming. He's a really good guy. He was telling me that the game just was not any good, and he returned it. So what I'm wondering is how many people are returning No Man's Sky, like, especially because you can return games on Steam. I wonder what they had a huge sell. I wonder if a lot of those games got returned in the long in a week afterwards, and that would definitely cause a big precipitous drop off.
I'm just checking Steam on its community hub page, and there are currently 16,000 players in game. So yeah, that's massive. I mean, we could have a whole podcast on No Man's Sky on the ins and outs of what's happened and how bad how bad the launch was. But there are videos of Hello Games portraying that it actually has multiplayer. It has a lot of things, and I think where the backlash is, the Reddit is as bad as Reddit can be. You really do need to wash yourself after you've been to the No Man's Sky Reddit. I think it is literally the saltiest place at the minute. Currently, it is so bad because Hello Games did promise a lot in the run up to No Man's Sky. A lot of people were put on the hype train of it. And I've obviously got it. I've got a copy on the PS4, and I haven't touched it now in about a week and a half. Since the first week, I played it, did about 10 hours, and I safely can say that I will not be going back to No Man's Sky.
So let me ask you a question. Did you bought it? You bought the boxed copy, right?
I bought the box. Well, I was donated by one of my community members. They donated me the money to go get the game, and the guy was really hyped. We did a little bit on stream, and I then played it for a few hours after the stream, and the first couple of hours of that game are amazing. There is something so special about this game, but for the first couple of hours, first 2, 3, 4, 5 hours, however you want to put it, the minute when you repair your ship and you take off for the first time, fly around the planet, it's amazing. The minute where you point the ship to the sky and you blast into space and you see this open galaxy and you spin back round and you see the planet in the form that it is and that you've just explored or you just come from, I have to safely say, in my years of gaming, nothing comes quite close to wow as what this game did. But you then go from planet to planet to planet to planet to planet to planet, and it's all the same. And unfortunately, it's very bare bones. It reminds me of when Destiny launched. Destiny, we've been promised so much, and it was all bare bones. The biggest problem with Destiny was it was all on disc, and it was locked behind DLC content, and that's, like I say, another different story. This, people say, it's very bare bones. The space combat is very basic. What you are doing is you're going to a planet, getting the highest worth of minerals, taking it to a trader, selling it, rinse and repeat. There's no building. It just literally is that kind of game. And people say it's not for everyone, but with the hype train from the beginning of No Man's Sky, when it was started as this indie developed game, to becoming a AAA title. They charging AAA money to me, and then seeing the videos from Hello Games and Sean Murray stating all these things about No Man's Sky, and it not. But this is why I think 88% of people just dropped it. I've gone. That's. I think that's the reason why.
Yeah, well, their big selling point for No Man's Sky was that this had 18 quintillion planets for you to explore. And the only way to get 18 quintillion planets is to have a computer generate them randomly, which means that there's no, you're not putting any thought or polish into the planets that are made. So and again, I haven't played the game, so I don't firsthand know. But this is one of the reasons that I didn't buy it, is because the game was made completely. Okay, the worlds were made by a computer, and it's so different when you load up a game where somebody has gone through and handcrafted the world that you're playing in. Now, sometimes it works. For instance, Minecraft. Minecraft works very, very well, but the reason that it works well is because you get to take over that environment that you're in and do whatever you want in it. That's not something that you can do in No Man's Sky that I really, to my knowledge. Like, you don't get to build a base and, improve your base and make your base look exactly the way you want, right? Am I correct in thinking that?
You are completely correct.
Okay, so that's why it works for a game like Minecraft, and it doesn't work for a game like No Man's Sky, because while you can have a procedurally generated worlds to play on, in Minecraft, you are the master of your domain, where in No Man's Sky, you are just somebody who's there to steal minerals and move on, and that makes it just a little less appealing, I think, to people. But let's move on from something. We've been kind of down for the first two stories. Let's bring it back up and let's take a look at this next story. And that, have you ever played Oceanhorn?
No, I haven't. I saw this on Good Game. Actually, did a story on this, and this looks amazing. Please tell me more.
All right, so Oceanhorn, which I've not played the first one. Everybody compares it to Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, from a more of a top-down perspective, and it's a very, very successful game. I haven't bought it yet. It's been on my wish list forever, and I'm sure that eventually I will go through and pick it up. But the developers behind Oceanhorn had just announced this week that they are going to be making Oceanhorn 2, and it looks a little bit different. I'm not sure if, like, this looks like an in-game picture that we're looking at here, and the original Oceanhorn was a top-down view. Actually, let me bring that up so I can show what that looks like on Steam, and then search Oceanhorn. Now, the thing about Oceanhorn is you can get it on just about every platform. It's available on iOS. It's available on the Wii U. I'm fairly certain that it's also available on the other consoles as well, and it's definitely available on Steam. But Oceanhorn is widely regarded as a very, very good game. It's got fantastic reviews, and it looks like it's a lot of fun. And if the worst thing somebody can say about your game is that it feels like Zelda, well, that's a pretty awesome thing. So I'm pretty excited that they're making more. That tells me they made a lot of money, or not, maybe not a lot of money. They made enough money to make it quote unquote profitable, and they're going to be coming back and playing it again. And I'm definitely going to be Probably by the time Oceanhorn 2 comes out, they'll probably put the first one on like a huge discount, and at that point I will pick it up and definitely be playing it because it looks fantastic, and the graphics are really polished too. It looks like it has a high level of polish, which I really like. So Oceanhorn 2, Knights of the Lost Realm is coming out. What do you think about that game? Did you watch the little video that I was just showing?
Yeah, I just watched it, and I've just seen it's out on the iOS App Store for phones, and will work on my iPhone. So I can see what well, the first one, Oceanhorn Monsters of the Uncharted Sea. I can see I'm definitely gonna look at this. This is kind of my whole. I love this kind of game. I've never played Zelda. I have. Sorry, tell a lie. I have played Zelda back on the N64, and I've emulated Zelda on my phone, but I've never really been a massive Zelda fan. But as I've got older, I've started to appreciate those kind of games, and I'd love to give Zelda a go. And if this is the closest thing I can get to playing a Zelda, then I'm all for that. That's an RPG that, in my repertoire, I can't say I've ever completed. We don't have Nintendo products in the house, so for me, it's kind of like, well, let's give it a go. And like you say, if the worst review out there is someone going, well, that's just a Zelda imitation, well, let's be honest, that's pretty good credit, I think. You know, when you're comparing games to something as big and as profitable as Zelda has been for Nintendo and the guys who made it, then wow, the hats off to them over at the guys who are making Oceanhorn. It looks fantastic. You said the graphics look polished. It looks like a really in-depth RPG, which for me, an RPG's got to have a good amount of depth for me to enjoy it. And it looks like it could be quite difficult as well, which is great because I love my difficult games. So yeah, you put that right on my radar. I'm gonna play the first one. I'm gonna have a look. And at $10.99, that sounds like quite a bargain as well for the first one. Don't know what the second one will cost.
Well,
No.
they're kind of like an indie dev team, so I'm guessing it's going to be cheap as well. I mean, I don't know that they make anything other than Oceanhorn. Like, that's what put them on the map. And they haven't been bought by some other company, so my guess is it'll probably cheap as well, so that they can move make up the difference in scale. So all right, let's take a look at you have another. What's the next story?
Next story is Deus Ex launches with bugs. Oh dear!
What a surprise! A new game would launch with bugs these days.
Oh man! So this is not really. This is kind of in the Deus Ex section, but it's also a general thing about new games launching with bugs. And I'm gonna propose a question to you, good sir. So firstly, before we get into that, Deus Ex Mankind Divided has had to have a patch to address critical issues. Now, usually the guys who are behind Deus Ex Mankind Divided, Square Enix, usually are some of the best out there for getting the PC ports right. Sorry, Eidos Montreal is the company. I think they're an affiliation of Square. So they're usually very good. The first Deus Ex that I played, which was Human Revolution, was great on the PC. No problems at all. But it looks like they've got some serious problems with Deus Ex. And this patch addresses the critical issues. So my question to you is, do you think big developers should stop the going to a deadline, and if they know there's going to be problems after they've tested it, should they delay it by a week, 2 weeks, to get it right? That's my question.
Okay, I'm gonna definitely answer that question. But first, I want to preface this by saying I completely understand when you're working on a deadline and things aren't. Gosh, how do I want to put this? When you're making a game, it's really tough to meet a deadline. And so your question, should they delay games? I think that they should just stop announcing the dates ahead of time. That is really what's coming around and biting them in the butt. And you said that Eidos is linked to Square. I don't actually... I think that you're right that they are. In my brain, they definitely are. And I'm not sure why. I wonder, I think that Eidos used to be partnered with Enix, and then Square bought Enix, so I don't know if there's still that link, but Square is one of these companies that does absolutely terrible at announcing their games way too early, and then they inevitably have to delay them. A lot more companies need to do the same thing that companies like Blizzard does. Blizzard comes along and they say, when's the game coming out? When it's done. Okay, thanks. No, that's the answer. It's when it's done. And the reason that companies say when games are going to be coming out is because we won't shut up about it. Like, people just won't shut up about when things are coming out. And you know why? Because we're excited about it. We want to know because we think that it's cool. So we're constantly asking questions. And when they don't answer our questions, we get all ticked off. And we're like, why aren't they telling us anything? All we want is some transparency. We want you to tell us what's happening. So then they're like, all right, fine. We think that it's going to come out on this day. And then we get to that day and they're like, well, we have to delay it because it wasn't quite right. And this is very tangentially related. I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about Tim Cook, who's the CEO of Apple. And the person who was interviewing Tim Cook, they said, come on, don't you want to tell us a little bit about something? And he said something, and I'm paraphrasing, he said something along the lines of, look, one of the things about being a CEO is you have to be disciplined. Of course, it would be fun for me to tell you all of the cool things that we're working on, but now's not the time. And gaming companies don't exercise that same kind of discipline. They want to get people excited about their stuff. And if they just make stuff that's worth getting excited about, we're going to get excited anyway. So don't try and overhype us by announcing something that is not ready to come out the door. Okay? That's how I feel about it. So Deus Ex, which by all accounts everybody likes these games, I've only played a little bit of one of them, and I definitely wanted to get back to it. I just haven't yet. I'm excited to play these games, but these games need to stop announcing things way ahead of time. And this personally, Mankind Divided already has kind of gotten a bad taste in my mouth because of the nonsense that they were pulling before, when they were doing like their pre-order stuff where, hey, if you pre-order, for every person that pre-orders, we're gonna level up the pre-order rewards, and if you share on social media that you pre-ordered Deus Ex Mankind Divided, then we're going to give you some extra rewards and stuff like that. And everybody kind of fought back against that. I talked about it at length on an old episode of the podcast. But it was really kind of, I don't know, it just felt like a used car salesman. Sorry if there's any used car salesmen out there, but it felt very much like the stereotypical cartoon version of a used car salesman, just slimy and dirtbaggy and cheap tricks to try and get more sales ahead of time. And so there's two things that I want to stop, and I'm going to stop ranting here in a second. First, I want, and nobody's going to listen to me, so that's fine. I want them to stop announcing things before they're ready. That's number one. That's the most important thing they can do. Number two, they've got to stop with their ridiculous pre-order nonsense where you get this by pre-ordering it. Or if I go to GameStop and pre-order it, I get to have a white outfit for the hero in the show instead of a black outfit. Or I get to have this if I go to Best Buy. Or if I go to Game, I get to have the red thing. And just sell me the damn game. And stop acting like a bunch of fools, because you're treating your customers like morons, and we don't really like it. The reason that we still do it, that we still pay money to these companies, even though they're doing these dirtbag tactics, is because we want to play the game. We don't want the ridiculous pre-order, at least for me. I'm talking for myself. We don't want the pre-order rewards. I don't want that crap. Make a game, sell me a game, and then shut up until you're ready to sell me the next game. That's how I look at it. So, well, I talked for a long time there. What do you think?
No, I agree. No, I totally agree with the rant. That's and as Kodiak, I just checked. Kodiak said that I can't believe Eidos Interactive is actually it's a subsidiary of Square.
Okay.
So it's all part of the same company. But the crash, the problems with the Deus, going back to the Deus Ex launch crashes, what gets me is they seem to be with the critical issues. It seems to be very basic issues. You know, interfering with third-party programs. Well, tell me who in this day and age doesn't have some type of third-party program running in the background of their game? I.e., if you're a streamer, OBS, all those sort of stuff, it's all third-party. It's going to be running. You know, surely someone didn't sit in the office and go, right, with this game, we're going to make it, and it's not going to work with third-party programs. Now, I don't know if it's OBS causing issues, but that's the first one that springs to mind. Anchorpot, another one. All these third-party programs you can have. Recording software, if you're a YouTube, content creator, is obviously the field of what we're in. Is that's what gets me. A fixture crash that occurred after viewing the intro videos. So surely they would have watched their intro video and gone, hang on a minute, right? Well, our computer's crashing. That's fine. Let's sell it like that. That's ridiculous.
I do want to interrupt just real quick.
Go on.
So just I want to point one thing out, and that's that I'm sure that they did test it in their offices, and they probably didn't run into the issues that we're talking about. When you make a game and you put it on millions of different setups, especially a PC game where I've got an Intel CPU and I've got an NVIDIA graphics card. I have 8 gigs of RAM, whereas somebody else has a different type of CPU, and they've got an ATI graphics card, and maybe they've got 4 gigs of RAM, and maybe they've got their RAM has maybe they've got one 8 gig stick of RAM in there and one 4 gig stick of RAM, so they've got 12 gigs of RAM, but it's 2 different pieces of hardware. So when you get all these weird hardware configurations, different things start to pop up that cause problems that they don't notice in the because they don't have access to all the millions of different builds. So I understand when they have a crash like that shows up. Continue.
No, I don't. I was just more generalizing over the fact of these crashes. I totally understand what you just say. We have multiple different systems, multiple different setups. Every setup, you install a game on a PC is not like sticking a disc into a console where it should, not where it just works. It should just work. It's more of a general outlook of the bugs and the crashes and these critical issues do seem very basic from a 21st century technology point of view. That's kind of where I was coming from. Things like that. It just seems such a shame because, again, it's a hyped game that has a lot of... Yeah, you're right. The shady pre-launch stuff was disgusting, and I like you, have a really sour taste in my mouth for it. And I went to EGX, which is England's biggest gaming expedition, which I'm going to again in September. And they had the start of the Mankind Divided pre-order bundle stuff, where if you start at level 1, you got this, and you went to level 2, level 3, and you just sat back and look, and they had it on a massive board. It was quite disgusting to look at. They literally were glorifying this way of pre-ordering this game, and as a gamer, you thought, this is disgusting. There they are just saying, throw as much money as you want at us, but you're not going to get any more than pretty much the person below you, because the products, some of those products could be unlocked in game, and that's what was it was really dodgy, really fishy, quite a nasty looking, and I'm glad they scrapped it. Going back to I played Human Revolution, I played some of the first Deus Ex, and they're great games, they're really, really good games. It's just a shame that this game on launch day is running into so many problems, and it's just a shame that it's another AAA title that's just having problems, and that's all we seem to be having just lately is AAA title after AAA title after AAA title having problems, and that's really all I got to say about it.
I wonder if Okay, so I'm not sure if this is true or not, but these kind of games, they don't get beta testing for the public, do they?
No, I think a single player, like this is a single player RPG. It has no multiplayer, which again I appreciate. This is why these games stick out to me, because they're a game company that cares about the story, about how the single player goes, and you're spending your time with that, and you can spend 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, how many hours, very much like The Witcher, and The Witcher is a very polished RPG, and these kind of games really appeal to me because I love that. I love a developer developing for the single player, developing for that story experience where you have those cliffhanger moments and all that sort of stuff.
Well,
So no, there wouldn't normally be any beta tests for this sort of game.
yeah, well, the reason I bring it up is because they only have so much money that they can put into quality control. And when you look at like an MMO, which has this huge, it's got a huge player base, it's multiplayer, it's got all of this stuff. They get to test their stuff with the community. If Deus Ex or Square or Enix or Eidos, whoever the heck it is that's in charge of this, if they did a pre-sale, and I just kind of ranted against pre-sales, but if they did a pre-sale and said, as your pre-sale, you get to be beta testers. Now, keep in mind, things are going to break. If they did that, then they would find problems like this, and then on the real launch day, they wouldn't have problems like this. Now, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing for asking people to beta test, but it has to be real beta testing, not like beta testing has become these days, where it's basically a glorified soft launch. It has to be a real beta test. What most people look at an alpha test as. When you look at an alpha test, you're actually going in and you're trying to break the game and you're trying to figure out what the problem is, and you're reporting those bugs. If you could sell the game, I almost think that what they could do is do alpha testing. Look at what was it? It was if you look at Guild Wars 2 or Wildstar, I can't remember which one. No, I think it was Guild Wars 2. When you went through and did the beta test of that game, as you did quests, it popped up little things. It was like, what did you think of this quest? And you were like, well, I thought it was like a 5 out of 6, or every time there was a crash, when you started it up, it put a thing on there that says, what were you doing when it crashed? And you had to click on it and do stuff before it went away. If they sold the game, let's say $10 extra to be a beta tester for the game, people would do it because they would want to play the game early, but they would also, first off, it would give these companies a reason to say, hey, it's in beta, you guys got to chill out, we're trying to get this stuff fixed. Secondly, if they would have to make it so that the players had to answer the things before they moved on. So if something bad happened and the game crashed, before you got to play, you would have to answer a little survey thing. Now, people would pay for that. They would get less bad press, and when the game actually came out, you would have a better, you and me who didn't beta test it would have a better experience. I think that would be something that would really help the game industry for these AAA titles, because AAA titles, they don't go into Steam on early access. They come out when they're done, or done. Big for those of you listening to the audio version, my fingers just did the biggest air quotes that you could ever do. They come out when they're done, unquote. They're never done, but when you're like a small developer, they do stuff like Steam Early Access, and they get that beta test, so their game gets more polished than the AAA thing, because they've got more people to help them polish the game, I think. It's just an idea that came to me while we were talking about it. Anything else to add before we move on?
Yeah, just before we move on, going back to your whole beta thing, you look at something like, we talked about Oceanhorn earlier. Now, I bet you £1,000,000 if you sat down. Well, no, I'm not going to bet you actually £1,000,000 because I don't have £1,000,000 to bet. But I'll bet you anything that if you sat there and played Oceanhorn for 3 hours and then played Deus Ex for 3 hours, I bet you'd have a better experience with Oceanhorn than you would Deus Ex, because of this whole early access, this whole small indie. It feels like small indie developers are having much more care with their games. And Necropolis is another thing that me and you have played, and I've got hours of gameplay out of that on my own, just chilling out with it because it's fun, and there are communities giving their feedback to Necropolis. And I bet anything that these small indie developers are making better games, like you say, than these AAA titles, because they seem to care what the public think. And again, it's just a shame that the Deus Ex is having this bad press.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on what you're saying there, these indie developers are making better games for a couple reasons. Number one, they don't have somebody in a suit telling them shut up and ship it. Okay, and secondly, these are the indie developers. The people who are making decisions there are people who love games. The people who are making decisions for the AAA developers, I'm not saying the developers, okay? The developers like making games, but they don't get to make the decisions. The decisions are made by a guy in a suit who probably has a degree in business, not a degree in making games, not a game design background. His job is to maximize shareholder value. And so when he says ship it, or she, sorry ladies, he or she, when they say ship it, then the developers have no choice but to ship it. So anytime I always feel like I need to make sure that I point this out, and after I finish this, we'll go move on to the next story. It's not the developer's fault when games come out with all these bugs. It's the publisher's fault, because I'm going to say 99.999 repeating for a really long percent of the time, it's because some guy in a suit said, we need to ship it or our stock price is going to drop. And so they have to ship the game, and that's just the way it is. All right, let's move on to the PS4 Slim. Looks like it's been leaked online, and some people are saying it looks legit. Here's a picture of it if you're watching. If you're listening, you'll just have to use your imagination. It's very thin. It's got like rounded corners, and it's got like this weird space in the middle of it. I almost wonder, looking at it, does it have a tray that pops out? It doesn't look like it does. So it looks like it might just have like the feeding in mechanism where you just kind of hold the disc and then it grabs the disc and pulls it in. This was which day? This was on the 22nd. They announced this, or they didn't announce this. This apparently leaked, and I guess on September 7th they're going to be having this PlayStation meeting or a PlayStation event, and apparently. This is already leaked online, and like they've got the box on the back and everything, and you can see all of the stuff that comes with it. So that's kind of interesting. Oh, I like the top of it. If you can't see the top of it, they've got these little the symbols from the controller are on the top of the box, or maybe that's the bottom. Oh, I think that's the feet. I think that's the feet that we're looking at. They hold it up a little bit, and it's the symbols from the controller. I can't tell if that's the top or the bottom, but it's very interesting. And you can see that it's a little bit smaller. Hopefully it's a little bit quieter. And I just think it looks kind of cool, and I'm glad that I waited. I'm still looking forward to getting a PS4, but I don't know if I'm going to or not. I haven't decided. And then there's one other thing that I wanted to talk about, and then I'll let you weigh in on this. Is that another PlayStation thing that they said that they talked about, is that they're going to be selling a $25 USB dongle, and you'll be able to hook up your DualShock 4 to a PC and Mac really easily just by plugging in this little dongle. And I think that's an advantage that Microsoft has had for a long time, because their controllers are compatible with PC. People get used to their controllers, and then they go to buy a console, they end up buying the one that has the controller that they're used to. So I think this is going to help Sony. But so we've got the PS4 leak and then the dongle. What do you think about Sony's September event?
I'm quite hyped about being a PS4 owner and gamer. I'm quite hyped about the event. I'll start with the dongle. The dongle is a really cool idea, even though there is emulation software out there that you can get, which it's a bit of a pain to set up. For people who are watching, you'll see. People who are listening, again, you have to use your imagination. I'm actually holding up a PS4 controller right now, and it's a really good controller, except from there's a touchpad in the middle, which makes no sense. So I'm wondering if the dongle is going to help you with that. I did see a leak somewhere that PlayStation Now was coming to the PC. So this could be all to do with this whole setup of getting the PS4 controller linked up with your computer. You know, this whole big reveal on PlayStation's launch event, which is obviously September 7th. The dongle's great. They've been behind the times on the whole controller thing. I have an Xbox 360 controller plugged into my PC because it's just easy. You plug it in, you play. Going to the Slim, I hate it.
Why do you hate it?
I don't like the look. I got a PS4, I got the original PS4, and I love the look of the PS4. I think it's a better looking console, personally. This is a personal thing. I like the bottom. You're pointing out the bottom with the feet. That is the bottom of the console that you're looking at with the feet, with the symbols. That's really cool. Now, traditionally, when Sony make their slimmer version, they take out features of the original PS4. So I'd like to know what they've actually taken out of the slimmer version, because they say it's there to save space. Right, okay. But personally, I don't quite like it. It's not for me. They got a picture, in the pictures you've got one of the white PS4s, which I think looks absolutely beautiful against it. And the original PS4, I think, is a very good looking console anyway. But that's a very personal opinion, and it's going to be very personal across the board to anybody who is looking at these consoles. And then you've got obviously the Neo, which is apparently, hopefully, going to be launched, or we're going to see something of it. And the Neo is something I'm looking at. Whether they're going to keep the original PS4 design, I don't know. Whether they're going to go for this more slimmer kind of look. They did it with the PlayStation 3, made a slimmer version. I can't remember if they made a slimmer. They did make a slimmer PS1 and PS2. I think they've made like a slim version.
Did they do? I don't think they did for the first one, but the PS2 definitely had a slim version. Did the first one?
I know they had a more rounded version of the PS1.
Yeah. It had like the big round in the middle, and then it had a square around the outside.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. But no, the PS2 definitely had a slimmer version. The PS3s had slimmer version. So it was only in time when the PS4 came. I'm personally not a fan. Like I say, I'm not a fan of the look. I think they lost some of their kind of like the shiny edge to it. But good thing about this one is like it can stand a bit more pressure. The original PS4 design is a little bit flimsy. The only thing that I'd like to know is where can you change your hard drive? Because from the PlayStation 3 onwards, you could change your hard drive even in the slim version. So, and with the PS4, if you look at the picture, if you're still looking at the pictures yourself, with the white one, the first picture with the slim and the white console, there's the two lines, which are the power button and the eject button. That top tray comes off and the hard drive sits under there, and it's really easy to change your hard drive to a new one. So that's really, really good. So with the Slim, I can't see any easy access to the hard drive. Now, whether they're going to sell like a 2 terabyte version or a 1 terabyte version, then that's all well and good. But if they're just going to sell it and ship it with a 500 gig and say, look, you can't change your hard drive, then that'll be quite bad, I think, on Sony's part. So that's a wait and see, in progress, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at the back of the console where you got like the HDMI and the Ethernet, and if you look, and you'll probably see it on the stream in a minute, but you can see like there's this little square on the back of the console. So I think that maybe that's where the hard drive can pop out or something, maybe.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe that's where it is. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that at all. And then if you look at this one, I can't tell if this is the front or what.
That's the back.
No. I in a second you'll see it. I changed pictures. There's another spot where it looks like there's got like this little box where it might is that the CD tray or is that I just can't tell what it is, but it looks like there's another spot where something is going to pop out of there.
I see. Looking around it, it looks like you could be right. There does look like there's a tray. The CD tray, the CD is will be the same as the PS4. It's like a suck-in mechanism. Place
Oh,
it near
okay.
it.
All
Takes
right. So
and
it
it'll
looks
go
like it's
straight
got
in.
a spot for hard drives to
Hopefully
swap.
that is the hard drive spot, which yeah is a very good design. But let me raise this question. Do you think that companies like Sony and Xbox, because they're obviously the two biggest console manufacturers, Nintendo will always do their own thing. Should they start with their big fat versions and then make the slim ones, or if they're not cutting anything out of the slim and with the Xbox Slim as well, should they just make the slim version? Because even though I don't like the look of it, it's going to sit tidier in places in rooms. And it's not going to like stand out so much. Do you see what do you get what I mean?
No, I get what you're saying, and I am not in console development or whatever, but I'm fairly certain that the reason that they do it like this, where they got the fat one and then they come out with the smaller one later, is because they improve manufacturing ways of manufacturing things. They can get the same amount of transistors on a smaller board in order to make it a more compact design. They find ways to save money, and so they can. Remember, these are publicly traded companies. They absolutely must maximize shareholder value. If they don't, they can be sued. So they have to do everything they can to save money when making these consoles. And like, if we look back to the PS3, they sold it telling everybody, hey, this is going to have full backwards compatibility with PS2. Later on, they took that out. All right. The PS4 doesn't have backwards compatibility. They can't take that out. So what features will they remove? I don't really think that they're looking at removing features in order to make it smaller. I think what they're doing is they've just improved their manufacturing process, and so they make a slim version because it costs less to make, even though it does the same thing. So that's what I think is going on there.
I've just read a bit more of the article, and it says the PS4 Slim. The model in this picture is the CUH-2016A, which is the 500 gig PS4 model. So this will ship with a 500 gig hard drive if this is the model that they're selling. Now the PS4 original comes, now they're doing the 1 terabyte version. You can still get the 500 gig one, I think, but this looks like to probably be the new replacement of the 500 gig fat PS4. And then you'll do what most people have done, like myself, and change the hard drive. We now have a 2 terabyte hard drive in our PS4, so it's like crammed with kids' games. Damn kids.
All right, let's take a look at the last story. Go ahead.
Well, we seem to be a bit of a Sony theme here for a second, and Sony have finally turned into the 21st century with their PSN accounts and added two-step verification. As we both know, as MMO players, account security is one of the biggest things. Well, not just MMO players, but in the 21st century, account security is one of the biggest things. And Sony has had its real fair share of hackings and all sorts over the years. Back in 2011, the data of 77 million users was exposed after hack. I remember being as big a console gamer as I was. The Sony network was down, I think, for like 2 weeks. 2 weeks with no access to any kind of online gameplay because of this hack.
Yeah, that was like at Christmas time too, wasn't it?
They were hacked at once and over Easter.
Yeah, so it was like right after everybody got all these games, and then, hey kids, sorry, you're not playing Jack because everything's broken.
Yeah, 77 million users, and I don't know if I was ever hit because we were just emailed to change all our stuff. We said straight away, look, get it changed as quickly as you can because this is what's happened. And to be fair to Sony, they did compensate people. Like I think you got a choice of a couple of free games, and they compensated very well. Sony did handle it very well, but it was a downtime that was received. And everyone's wondered when their security system is going to step up, because their security system has been pretty useless. So they finally added just two-step verification, which I'm guessing is pretty standard across a lot of stuff that has security stuff. Just wondering what you think of this. You think it's a good thing moving forward? All this sort of stuff.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Two-step verification is definitely something that needs to happen on every account that you can have anywhere. I use it on my Gmail. Steam has two-step verification built in. I use an app called Authy on my phone, and it has a whole bunch of different things that I use that has two-step verification. It makes it really, really easy. Battle.net has fantastic two-step verification. I don't even need to put in a code. I type in my password, and then it sends me a thing on my phone that says, hey, are you trying to log in? And I say yes or no, basically. So that makes it really, really easy. I think that a lot of companies need to get on the ball and make sure that they're using two-step verification from here forward. So I think this is a good thing. Moving on to... let's see. Oh, we're going to do the long play, so stick around and we will be right back, everybody. Alright, so we are doing the long play. The long play is where we talk about what we've been playing this week. I played Axiom Verge, which I talked about last week. Side-scroller, Metroidvania. Really, really fun game. If you haven't played it, check it out. And I fell right back into the trap, and I started playing World of Warcraft again to prepare for Legion coming out. Not that... I mean, that's part of the reason why I started playing is because of the new expansion coming out. But I definitely... am a fan of World of Warcraft. I'm one of those MMO players that I kind of like all of the MMOs, and they're like my kind of game, and so I'm very much having fun jumping back into World of Warcraft. And a lot of the games, or a lot of the reasons why I stopped playing World of Warcraft have been addressed. One of the reasons that I stopped playing was because they said, or you know, you could play as two different specs. So I was a restoration druid, and sometimes I had to be a tank druid, and so I had to have two sets of gear for that, and that always drove me crazy because I didn't, as an old man with kids and a job, and I just didn't have time to go and get all the gear in order to do the best that I could. And they've addressed that. They're making it so that one set of gear, for the most part, will be all you need for your character, because the stats will change when you change specs. So that's really cool. Another thing that made me want to stop playing World of Warcraft was I felt like I was playing the piano sometimes. I'd go through and, like, on my screen, I would have... I can't even imagine how many abilities there were. I had each action bar had 12 buttons on it, and I had easily 4 action bars. So 12 times 4, so 48 abilities. I had like 50 abilities on my screen at any one time. And everybody that I've talked to have said they've pruned a lot of those abilities out and made it so you don't have nearly as many buttons to push. Because that was the thing that I didn't like. I didn't like that I was constantly, you know, I felt like I was an old lady reporter, you know, tapping away all these buttons nonstop, clackety clack, and it just felt like an old way to play. And I guess the new way is most characters will get by with like 5 buttons, kind of like other MMOs. You know, you've only got about 5 abilities to worry about for your most of your stuff, and then you'll have a couple that you need to use once in a while. You don't have to constantly be hitting those buttons, so it feels a lot less like playing the piano. What have you been playing this week?
Well, due to my holiday, I've been playing Hearthstone, so it's a Blizzard fest in the long play. Hearthstone, I've been doing the latest solo adventure, One Night in Karazhan, and if you haven't played Hearthstone, guys, please go and play it. It's free. It's beautiful. It's one of the best collectible card games out on the market. And as I said before in a previous episode, that this is like the best time to play Hearthstone, because they've got 2 modes to it, standard and wild. Wild includes every single card from every expansion and every adventure. Standard only includes the expansion and adventures from the last 2 years, which makes it easier, and you get some really great cards from if you're starting now. Also, if you play and you recommend, and you play it through me, and you got recommended with me, then I get a free legendary, and then it works in, it's all beneficial for everyone.
All right, so if you want to play Hearthstone, make sure that you say that Zap recommended you, and he'll get some free cards.
But it's not just that; it's just the fact that it's a very well polished card game. I played some before I went on vacation. I played some other card games. Elder Scrolls Legends was another one, and you just can't help it. Very much like yourself with WoW, there's this thing that just taps the back of your brain, if you know what I mean, where you're playing a card game like Elder Scrolls Legends or something else, and it's like, well, I'll just play Hearthstone because it ticks all the right boxes. It's polished, it's beautiful, the cards look great. So yeah, no, because you can play it on your phone, I've been playing it for all I like on holiday. It's been great. And it doesn't take a lot of internet either, so it's really, really good.
Nice.
So yes.
Awesome. All right, so we're gonna do wish listed. We will be doing that right now. I'm added Sea of Thieves to my wish list. This game I saw at Gamescom. They announced it at Gamescom, and their website is terrible. I'll tell you that much. I can't. Okay, here we go. Watch the gameplay trailer. So, Sea of Thieves, it basically is an MMO pirate game where you and your friends are on a boat, and you see another boat out on the water. Guess what? Those are other players, and you can send your boat over to them. You got grog you can drink, which actually has negative effects on you, but it also has positive effects on you. So I think it'll be harder for you to do coordination-based things, but you'll be braver or something like that. So you and your friends work together to be pirates on the open seas, and it just seems like a really cool idea. I saw one of the players, he was drinking some grog, and they stopped to have a drinking game, and then as they're trying to do stuff, they're kind of wobbling back and forth and just having trouble doing things. And he said something that was really great. That they were trying to, they did a drinking game, and then they were trying to play together, and it was just filled with so much laughter that all of the players were laughing at each other as they tried to accomplish these tasks. It just looks like a really fun game to play. What did you add to your wish list this week?
I've got a couple, so I'll start with Shadow Warrior 2. I saw alpha play of Dell from the Angry Joe Show playing this on his stream, and it looks like Borderlands cross ninjas, cross all sorts going on. Should be released later this year. Looks amazing. I did actually tap out to the developer to see if I could get an alpha code or beta code. Still waiting to hear back from them, but it's really gory. It's horrendous, but it just looks like something like basically Borderlands cross between swords, and this looks a lot of fun. So that's something. And also WoW Legion is on my list, and as a gamer, I've never played WoW at all, ever.
Oh, never
played WoW. And I will be looking to quite possibly step into WoW with Legion. I've just seen on the website, as you were talking about WoW yourself, that you can play for free up to level 20, which that kind of interests me. I want to kind of give it a look and see what it's like.
Yeah, there's no reason not to try it.
So that's definitely. So they're both added to my wish list, and I'm looking forward to picking them two up.
All right, so that is it for the show this week. Thanks for coming, Zap. That was fun.
Yeah, good man. That was good fun.
All right, if you want to support the show, those of you that are listening, you can do so by giving us a review on iTunes. If you want to be part of the show, you can email runjumpstomp@gmail.com. or you can send a voicemail to 260-RUN-JUMP. That's 260-786-5867. Emails and voicemails that we get, as long as the voicemail is short and as long as the email is short and appropriate, we'll play or read those on the show, and we'll discuss. So we'll have like a section where we want to talk about that stuff. We want to hear from you guys. We want to hear what you think. You can find me on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube at Run Jump Stomp. And where can people find you, Zap?
You can find me on Twitch at DJ Zap, and on Twitter and on YouTube at Django Zap.
All right, that's it for us, and we will see you next week. Thanks for watching and listening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, we're all done. I just hit stop.